Create live video. Are we doing it? I think we're starting. There we are. We are live. Okay. I was just telling Anne-Marie, who has set up our technical stuff, that I haven't actually gone live on Facebook for a while. And so this page here just started looks a lot different to me. So I hope that we are live now and connected with you. This is the beginning of our annual summertime Q&As. I'm here at the Learning House. My name is Cori, and this is my good friend Jackie. We're just here to answer questions. So we have a few questions that we've been given earlier this week that people have submitted to us or we've talked through. And more than that, though, we want to be able to chat with you live now and to answer any questions that you have about homeschooling in Canada. So I'm going to start off by, we'll introduce ourselves. And while we do that, if you're live online with us right now, I'd love for you to come into the comments and let us know where you're joining us from and how old the kids are that you are homeschooling or thinking of homeschooling. So for now, I'll introduce myself and then Jackie, you can tell a little bit about your homeschooling journey. My name's Cori Dean. Been homeschooling for a long time, just going into my very last year of homeschooling. So it's 23 years down, 1 year to go. We've graduated 3 of our children from homeschool, and they've gone on to various things. One has graduated from the University of Waterloo, and she is raising her family now. Another one has graduated from Tyndale University. Both of those girls graduated from homeschool and went right into university without any specific diploma besides a homeschool diploma. And then my third daughter is also raising her family. She's done 2 years of Bible college, and she did get an Ontario secondary school diploma. So our journey started right from the beginning and has gone all the way through. We have lots and lots of girls, and we even had a good pack of granddaughters started. Yay. So homeschooling for us has been a girls' world, but now I've been working here at the Learning House for 6 years. Before that, I was working with Maple Tree Publications, so creating and publishing and reselling homeschool materials. And now with the Learning House, we send thousands and thousands of titles to families all across Canada and even around the world. And we just really love supporting homeschoolers. So that's why we're doing this. And Jackie has joined our team.
Yeah.
And I'll let you tell about your journey.
I'm Jackie, and I've homeschooled for 12 years up until a couple of years ago when my son went off to university and my daughter is in high school. She wanted to try the whole schooling life. So we found our homeschooling years to be a great foundation for our kids. It fit well with our lifestyle and great academics and a great chance to teach them our values as well. And so now the kids are doing well in university and high school, and we're looking forward to seeing how they fulfill their purposes in the coming years.
And another great thing is that Jackie has just earned her educational therapist credentials. And so we are both now registered educational therapists. So happy to talk about all things homeschooling, little ones, older ones, what it's like to homeschool with babies in tow, what it's like to homeschool through the high school years, and working with kids who learn differently, right? So thanks for joining us, Kelly. Nice to see you there. If anybody else has joined us since then, please tell us where you're joining us from and who it is that you're homeschooling or thinking of homeschooling. And we want your questions. So this is just we've got 45 minutes to just like rapid fire through questions. We're not going to dwell on anything really long, but we would like to make sure that you are prepared. Like our goal here is to make sure that as you prepare for the next school year, that you have the tools that you need. So if you have questions about a particular curriculum, a question about managing toddlers when you have a whole pack of other kids doing homeschool, questions about how to find the local homeschool groups, those are the kinds of things that we'd be happy to chat through with you. And we want those kind of questions. We do have some questions that were submitted earlier or that we've talked through with people earlier, and we will go through those, but I don't want to miss out on making sure that if you're here live, you have the things you need. So to that end, while I wait for other people to populate some of these things, one of the things we were talking about earlier is that you and I have both talked with moms and dads who have been pulling their kids out, and they want to know, like, how do I choose the right level? So we finished
Right.
grade 5. What do I do for
Right.
homeschool grade 6?
Yes.
What would you say to that?
I think it depends a lot on what curriculum you're looking at, but I think the most important thing is not to get too hung up on the grades, and hopefully your student doesn't get too hung up on it anyway. It's good to have something that's a good fit for your students, so it's not too frustrating for them, but not so easy that they're going to get bored. So a lot of curriculums will provide placement tests, and that can be helpful, but even without them, you can look at the table of contents. Your student, depending on their age, can look at the table of contents, the scope and sequence, and see where that curriculum is going to lie in their abilities. If you're not sure whether I should go back or forward, I would always choose back, because there's always an adjustment to going to homeschooling, and if you can help that student to feel confident and show them what they do know before they start learning the new stuff, and also you probably as a parent need that time to get warmed up, so that's what I usually advise.
Yeah, it's easier as a mom when I've jumped into a curriculum to get something and say, we're going to skip that and do this and skip that and do
Better
that,
to skip than
than
redo.
to get into something and go, okay, that's hard. Let me go get some supplemental materials. Let me sit down and put my thinking cap on and figure out how I'm going to teach you, basic algebra or something.
My stress level's going up as we speak.
Yeah. So I would always, if you're between levels, I would always choose that easier one so that we can help our kids to go, wow, actually I'm kind of good at this, I just didn't have the right materials before or whatever. So often changing into homeschool, or even changing curriculums within your homeschool years. Mm-hmm. It is that time to be able to say to your kids, hey, we just didn't have the right materials before. It wasn't you. Mm-hmm. It wasn't necessarily me. It was that I didn't realize that you needed something more hands-on, or I didn't realize that videos would really be helpful for us, or I didn't know that this shiny new thing would be the tool that could help us out. So helping our kids to know that we're always seeking out the right tools for them can give them the confidence to know, hey, it's not that I can't do math, right? And it's that I didn't have the right math curriculum. Placement tests are a really big thing for sure. I definitely agree with that. At the Learning House, we always try to, we're kind of fanatical about getting in touch with publishers and authors and getting samples from them and making sure that we have examples of things so that you can look at it. And as much as I love having people in the store, there's quite a few people in the store today. Not everybody lives nearby, so we want you to have sample pages and a table of contents and a placement test and anything that can help you to make wise decisions about what will work for your family. So look on the Learning House. In any item page, there's going to be a picture and a description, and underneath the description there's a little tag that says view details, and if you click on that, any samples that are available will be there, and any details like what age or grade this is appropriate for and so on. So that kind of stuff will help, really helps. And then there's just some curriculums like BJU, it doesn't have placement tests. How do you decide about those kinds of things?
Well, I don't know BJU specifically, but generally what I would say is look at the table of contents and the scope and sequence. If you can get a hold of any samples, flip through the pages. I find the first bunch of pages in a book are so helpful, like the how to use this book, and up to the first lesson, look at the last lesson. What resources
do I need? To take it home and go, I didn't know that I needed all these extra pieces.
And it's hard sometimes to get through those pages because there's a lot of detail, but if you can take a quiet time, if you can't be in the store, then go online sometime when it's quiet at home and really read through almost every word of those pages and just see.
Okay, you and I are the nerdy ones though, right?
I know.
Okay, but
it's a suggestion.
The ones that don't want to nerd out on this, I do need to say that Jackie and I do consultations. This is what we do.
Yes.
And we love the one-on-one chatting with people. We're not as happy to be staring into the void looking at a blank computer screen. So if you're here, say hello and let us know. I can see that there is a number of people here, but say hello, please. We like to nerd out, read the introductory things, and we really have this amazing opportunity to try everything so that you don't have to. So one of the things I just really love about working at the Learning House is that I get to buy everything and try everything. And then when you call, I can say, no, that wasn't the right thing for you. Right. Or maybe this would be something and you haven't seen it and it might be just the right thing for your kids.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. That makes me think of another question that's come up a lot is my friend uses this curriculum, and so is it the right one for me? And so that depends on a lot of factors.
Yeah, for sure. I think in that case we need to talk about asking right questions, right? How do you know it's the right one for you? Like, does it speak to your child's learning style? Does it speak to your budget? Does it your time budget, your energy budget, as well as what you want to spend on curriculum? Some families that we know love doing videos, and my kids have not enjoyed them. So they want to get their hands on and get things done. So let me read. Thank you for submitting a question, and please continue to submit them here. Rebecca says, just wondering about starting to homeschool. A high schooler. I'm still not too sure what curriculum to use. I've always done a hybrid and adapted to my kids' needs. Of course, that's why we homeschool. Because I know that one size doesn't fit all in homeschool. However, for some reason this year, I feel like this weight is heavier. Totally common thing to hear this. Yeah. Any advice from personal experience that would help on what worked for grade 9 students? I know that Christian Light does, and ACE provides diplomas, and any others that you know that provide accredited program. Do you have some initial thoughts there?
My initial thoughts are that just because you're starting high school doesn't mean you need to ditch what you've been doing. You've been doing what you've been doing for a reason, and there is an added weight with high school, but it doesn't necessarily mean you have to reinvent the wheel.
Amen.
Yeah, so you can look at what you're doing and tighten it up. You could look at what your students' future goals are, or what your goals are for them as the homeschooling parent, and see if that's fitting in. Sometimes it helps to look at the requirements, high school requirements defined by your area, just to get an idea of what all is out there, kind of expand your options rather than narrow them. That's my initial thoughts.
Yeah. So, and just to expand on that, yes, we don't have to change what we've always done, and yet at the same time, it's like it's this whole world, new world, and yet nothing changed. So, what does change? I think that thinking towards the end, right? Like I can see the end of this tunnel. So part of what intimidates us is that there's going to be a point where there's going to be a next educator.
Yeah.
So whether that is, hey, we're going to homeschool through to the end of grade 9, and then they're going to go to a local public or private school, or whether it is preparing them for a university and college, or preparing them for a job place and entrepreneurship. In every case, they're going to be coming under the authority or the leadership of someone besides us. And we need to be able to communicate well what they've learned. So something like, yes, CLE and ACE, they offer opportunities to partner with a private school that will certify, hey, we did this, we finished this, and create a diploma. Those have varying value. So what I mean by that is, yes, you can come out of, you can finish a BECA and get a BECA diploma. You can finish BJU and get a BJU Academy diploma. You can finish some online courses with a accredited school, like an accredited private school, and get an OSSD here in Ontario, or a Dogwood, or a Alberta Ed diploma, or different diplomas across the country. So as a homeschooler, we can finish with like a provincially accredited diploma, or a Tree of Life diploma, or a NARS diploma, and different schools will treat them differently. So provincial diplomas, our schools know how to deal with them. So you want to go to Waterloo, you want to go to Western, you want to go to Tyndale University, you want to go to any college or university across Canada, they know what an OSSD is, they know what a Dogwood diploma is. But will they know a NARS diploma? Will they know a Tree of Life diploma? That's the conversation you have to have with them. I actually spoke to a mom a couple of days ago who was helping her student to navigate from homeschool to post-secondary, and working at applying to a specific Christian university with a specific diploma that they'd work towards getting this accredited diploma. And that university didn't recognize it because they just didn't know it. It was an American program and really well chosen materials, but they had to be able to communicate well what they knew. So going into high school, we're choosing things, like you said, that kind of give us breadth, expose us to things that we wouldn't otherwise. And diploma requirements in in the provincial level, they help us to get those ideas. So English, math, science, but it helps to do phys ed and art. And
it's okay to count those as credits.
And geography and history and Indigenous studies. In some provinces we need to do Indigenous studies, in others we don't. So those things help to give our kids breadth in a way that I might not have imagined. Oh, you guys should do an arts degree. Like Jackie and I are both mathy girls. And so I wouldn't really think to teach my kids a lot of art. But I was thinking, in Ontario in high school you do some art, so we should do something like that. And so it helped to give my kids more breadth, exposure to things that they might like to do that I probably wouldn't have told them. So those kinds of things help. So that breadth helps. The core, math, science, and English helps. And at the high school level, I'd think of science, because that is a prerequisite for many post-secondary learning. But it's a bigger question too. Like there's a lot that we could talk about, and we do teach, and I've been teaching for a number of years with Louise House, and we had a number of other guest speakers this year, the Help for Homeschooling High School course, and we dive into that stuff, all of the things, writing transcripts, choosing a program, how to compare what are different curriculums and which one would work best for my kids, whether it's an ACE or Apologia or a Bob Jones or all kinds of different options, or a provincially accredited option. We dive into all that. We talk about post-secondary pathways and admissions and building your own courses. We talk about tons and tons of stuff. So we could go and get much deeper on that kind of stuff. So that's something that, call us for a consultation, look online and see the Help for Homeschooling High School course. You can do that live, in person, or online when we offer it. It was last offered in February, or you can access the course as a streaming download as well. So I hope that helps. Please tell me if that's just a really broad topic, and we could chat more about it, but tell me, Rebecca, if that answered, or if you have more questions. Kelly, I think we chatted recently, didn't we? Wondering if there's a more simple general science for a high schooler who is autistic and can't seem to comprehend or answer workbook questions. My question would be, more simple than what? What have you used in the past? To compare to what? So what general science courses do you know, and where would you put, like, on your spectrum that we have that are general science, and then we can sort of add a couple more to that.
So we have Apologia, and we have Brain Builders, and we have Master Books. General science. Now, exploration education, would they offer something?
Yeah, there's advanced physical science that would be about a high school level. Apologia tends and Brain Builders tend to be most academic, and they'd be what I'd recommend for a student that is on that university track. In part because they do the biology and advanced biology, chemistry and advanced chemistry courses, or Brain Builders does biology, and then they recommend you do Apologia's advanced biology. So those ones would be in alignment with what we do in Ontario and in Canada. The Master Books is simpler, like a lighter. They're general science courses. There's two of them. They're gentler and simpler and not so hands-on. So for a student who has trouble with comprehension, that might not be the right thing as well, because you're reading to learn. There are activities to do within it, but not like the whole science kits like you would do with an Apologia course.
I think you could adapt that one as well, so that it's not necessarily answering workbook questions all the time, because there's just some really good information in there. So if the student has some interest in science, in certain topics, you could look into that topic and work together to do some things orally, or do the activities that are offered.
Always, I always think it's a good idea to read and narrate, and read and tell me what you learned, tell me what you think, where should we dig deeper. But exploration education is another one that we talked about, and that one's very hands-on. You get this box. It's called advanced physical science, so it doesn't get into biology, it doesn't get into chemistry so much, but it does a lot of physical sciences at about a grade 7 to 10 level, and we recommend that often for high school sciences for a student that's struggling. And there's also the biology, chemistry, physics 101 courses, and there's a general science 101 course that's DVD based.
Right.
Definitely a more gentle one. I don't know which ones you looked at, Kelly, so tell me if any of those resonates and if that can be, if we can kind of dig in a little bit more on that. Okay. Again, if you've just joined us, there's people coming and going, I can see, and we have quite a few people watching right now, but I haven't got a lot of your questions, so give us your questions. We would rather chat to the questions that you have than sort of chatter on. But we do have a few questions that were submitted ahead of time. One that I was talking to a mom about recently was about how long should we spend on an average school day? What? Now you and I are both Charlotte Mason mamas, so it has a bit of a different approach to it, right?
Yes,
Maybe
yes.
a different length to the day, different subjects and so on. But what, like K to 12, what's the gamut of how long should my day take?
Oh, the gamut, yeah. So I would say, I mean, as a Charlotte Mason mom, I would say that schooling doesn't really need to happen until age 7, unless the child is interested. That said, when you do start with reading and writing and math, like reading and printing and math, half an hour is lots of time, I think, every day, just to get in that habit and to get some of those foundational skills. And then, I mean, by the time high school comes along, it really is pretty close to a full-time job, I think, in grade 11 and 12 especially. But at that point, a lot of that is, I mean, long before that, it's very much student-led. The student is taking care of it independently, and you're just overseeing and making sure that they're checking the boxes. So, it depends on where you lie.
Yeah, definitely. So from a Charlotte Mason perspective, yes, we indulge in a very experiential, literature-rich, get out and do it kind of an education. So it's hard to quantify that with a 4-year-old and a 5-year-old and a 6-year-old. The things we would call junior kindergarten are things like setting the table and folding the socks and reading the books and going to the library and going outside and raising the caterpillars and you know, all of those really fun things. And do you really count that as school time? So how much is that? So those lines are kind of blurry in those early years. For somebody who wants to choose a really traditional curricular style, then you've got to start with like when there's time to sit down and do school and there's time to move on. The mom that I was speaking to a few days ago said, she was saying, I feel really discouraged because I listened to a seminar from a conference and the conference speaker was saying how it's how a kindergarten grade 1 student should be done school after 3 hours. And she said, like, I can't even get this little guy to sit for 5 minutes, which of course, I mean, that's their job, is to be busy and discovering the world, not to be sitting still. So as much as we would like you to. So I agree that half an hour, if you're pursuing a traditional curricular style of learning, half an hour in those early days will give us some time for handwriting, some time for learning that phonemic awareness and phonics, like letters and sounds and blending things and decoding things, starting with that, and basic numbers. So learning our early maths, counting and comparing and size and shape and colors and bigger and smaller and time of day and measuring things against and all of those kinds of things is early math. So whether you get a book, a wonderful little master books book or Singapore or whatever, we can work through those in just a little bit and not expect our little guys to sit too long.
Yeah, and if you're nerdy families like our families are, you're going to the park and you're like physically doing things, you're figuring out where your boundaries are as children, and you're going to museums and you're reading plaques along the side of the road and you're reading books in the evening. And just life is about education, life is about exploring, and it's so important for kids to be able to explore and just get to know the world.
And I think it's sort of a hallmark of a Charlotte Mason education, but it's certainly a commonality of most homeschoolers that we agree that education is very much those things, is being curious, having a wonder and awe for the world and retaining that interest, as well as things like learning to obey, learning to pay attention,
Yeah.
and
Get along with my siblings some of the
get
time.
along with my siblings, yes. The number of times that I said to my kids when they were littler, "You guys are best friends. You better stop fighting."
You are future best friends.
Yes. But it's true. Like I have a pack of girls, so that's different too. But now they are like that was really important part of homeschool for us, was not the academic, but the relational piece. So super important. So back to like what is appropriate. Half an hour for a kindergartner, half an hour to an hour,
Absolutely.
an hour and a bit when we are doing first grade.
Yeah.
Second grade, an hour and a half. Like there's no cut and dry things, and it depends what you're including. Like, are we just looking at math and language arts?
Yeah.
But there's a really neat study. I'll have to add it to the comments later on, that I have often quoted. It came out about 2 years ago from HSLDA. I think, have I told you about this one? I really like this. HSLDA did a study, and one of the things that they have to advocate on behalf of families, especially in the States, so this is coming out of HSLDA in the States, is that in some states parents have to quantify what they're doing. So all the other kids are in school from 9 until 3:30, so what are you doing 6.5 hours a day with these kids? You better tell us what you're doing to teach them. And so HSLDA, the Homeschool Legal Defense Association, took the time to do this study where they studied and said, like, what really is happening in that time for a student in class, and how does it look for a homeschooled student to achieve the same educational outcomes. So they looked at grade 3 and 4 students, and you could probably Google this and find this, but I'll try and find the link later. They looked at grade 3 and 4 students, and they said, of this 6.5 hours, how much time is used for actual classroom time versus all the recess and lunch hour and stuff like that. So say, and I'm talking round numbers, there's more precise things, but in that 6.5 hours, about 5 of that hours is actually sitting in class. And then they said, what amount of time is actually spent doing learning activities? And they found about half of that time was. So about half of that time was the teacher was teaching, they were actively working on like things that take cognitive skills, like thinking through math questions or doing, writing something or doing some academic work. About half of that time. So in 6.5 hours, our kids are spending about 2.5 hours doing some really academic work in a grade 3-4 public school classroom, if they were in the States. Probably similar in Canada. And then they said, let's look at the students who have achieved the same level in homeschool. How long does it take them to achieve that? And they were taking about 90 minutes to 2 hours.
Wow, yeah.
So our kids need about half the time, a little more than half the time, to achieve the same academic outcomes. And it also, there was that benchmark, grade 3-4, about an hour and a half to 2 hours. Not bad.
Yeah, that sounds
to be doing
reasonable.
those academic things,
Yeah.
math,
Yeah.
language,
Yeah.
and whatever else academically you
Yeah.
want to fit into that
Yeah.
role. And then how much does that blend and become an organic part of your day? We went to the library, we found a caterpillar, we baked things together, we took care of the neighbors, we read some stories, right?
Right, yeah. And just living with an adult all full time, I think makes a big difference too for them becoming adults. So even the things that you don't plan to teach them when you're working on your bank booking at the end of the day, or if you're talking to a friend about a problem, they catch on to those things as well. And there's lots of good discussions that you can have.
I had a fantastic discussion with a mom. Actually, this was a homeschool teacher, so a hired tutor, the other day, and she was loving homeschooling this young family, and she said part of what she really loved was just that they could stop the math and say, when the little one said, well, how does a credit card work? We could just stop and discuss that. She said, it's so fantastic to be able to do that. Like, why not do those things?
Right, yeah.
Yeah. Kelly is saying he seems to like master books. Kelly, if he hasn't done master books, then you could read and discuss. There are activities in those. I always find that the teacher guide, which contains the student worksheets, it fits a range of students, and not necessarily every student who could actually access that work. So Master Books General Science, you could easily read with a range of students of a range of ages and abilities, and just give those worksheets to the kids that it suits them. And doing them orally is a fantastic thing as well for a student who may have comprehension or processing difficulties or reading difficulties or so on. Okay. And then I think Anne Marie has added in a post, and that's the post about that article that I was talking about. Yeah. Keep giving us your questions, because we still got another 10-15 minutes. Yeah, he's been doing Master Books for years. He also enjoys the videos that some courses have with them. And he has a general science curriculum now. So what you're thinking, maybe what's after that? They have a good biology. It's not too heavy. There is 2 general science courses there, and there's a lot of other interest-based courses that are really good in that middle school to high school range that he could enjoy. But depending if he's general science, he might be. I'm assuming he's high school aged. I'm sorry. I think we chatted recently, and I can't remember where we said he's at. But I'd be also looking towards, like, what do we need to do once we're in high school? Like, do we have a kid that wants to be a veterinarian? You can't skip biology. We got to get into those things.
Yeah.
So.
Biology doesn't have to be scary. They make it pretty fun in those courses.
Yeah.
I actually love biology now. I hated biology before I was homeschooled. So.
Well, before you were homeschooled, right?
I was homeschooled
you
with
were.
My kids.
Yeah. He's done chemistry and enjoyed the videos. Grade 9 this year. He can't answer the workbook questions, and that's where I'd be doing stuff orally, or having him be creative, do videos, do speech to text, tell him to make a PowerPoint, tell him to describe things, tell him to design an experiment that we'll do. There's lots of ways that we can do this without necessarily having to fill out workbook questions. So that's just a.
And biology really should be about the outdoors, right? Just discovering what's out there and then doing research on it.
Well, we enjoyed doing our dissections and our microscope work too.
Yes,
going down and getting the pond scum and putting it on a slide, and inviting our friends over to do dissections, because friends shouldn't let friends dissect alone. And we've done our last dissection on my kitchen table. So we lived through those things, but those are some fun things too. I still want more questions, but in the meantime, one of the questions that I've chatted with over and over again with parents, and at least 3 times this week, is how do I choose the right IEW course?
Oh yeah, there's always more to learn about IEW.
Okay, so if Mr. Andrew Pudawa is watching this now, I just appeal to you in terms of the way that you have leveled these things. And we have chatted before, and I've said to my friends and staff that I was going to talk to you about this, and then I chickened out. But the leveling for IEW is confusing. Now, it's a fantastic course. We go through so much IEW.
Yeah.
Right? We
It's
go through
amazing.
skids and
it
skids
really
of this
is
stuff.
amazing and interesting, and yes, if you can figure it out, it's great.
Yeah, so IEW, I brought some of them up here because I want to be able to show this to you, and I did promise a mom earlier this week that I was going to record a snippet on this so we can look back at this, because choosing your level with IEW is confusing. But let me just give a quick overview of what IEW is. That's Institute for Excellence in Writing. They have 2 streams to their reading, or to their writing courses, and they're kind of writing general language arts courses. One is video based and one is theme based. They also have some other things like phonics zoo, fix-it grammar, general language arts for younger students. But the main kind of flagship things that we see the most of, and that we know that parents love the most, structure and style. The video-based courses or the thematic studies, but certainly structure and style is the most.
The colorful boxes.
Yeah, so these are our colorful boxes, and I brought some up here. And the thing with IEW is that it kind of ties into a Charlotte Mason style of read to tell back, read and narrate, by giving our students a passage. So in the young years, it might be a sentence or a few sentences, or paragraphs, or an article as you get into the high school years, or a story or something longer. and we learn to do keyword outlines, KWO, keyword. And they do their keyword outlines by choosing 3 words, and then he shows us how to do like little symbols, like if you want to write down something like the dog was not running, you could put like dog and then run and then put like a little circle around it and a line through it. So choosing 3 words to describe it. So we're learning to make good notes. And then we take those notes and we tell them back orally, so we learn to do public speaking. And then we write it in our own words, using that vocabulary and that set of notes that we use. That's our comprehension and our vocabulary. And using those words from the greater writer, the stronger writer, to create my own set of writing. So we listen and we narrate, we hear from great writers, and we emulate them. But we do that with a set of dress-ups. And so slowly, one by one, he teaches different tools, some structures and some styles. And the first structure or style is always, the dress-up is ly adverbs. So tell me about that dog running with an ly adverb. So the dog was running quickly, right? Or the dog was not running quickly. So then when we tell it back, then we're telling it using these structures and styles. So we start to get this checklist of things, that styles and structures that we use to write well and to communicate well what we're doing. So our students will create a piece of written work at the end of each lesson, which is about a week long. So when doing these, and I'm going to open up one shortly, when we're doing these lessons, each lesson is meant to be a week long. We start with videos that span the first couple of days, and then the next few days, during days 1, 2, 3, and 4, you're going to do some writing the keyword outlines, making your draft and your final draft of whatever it is that we're telling back. We might do some grammar from those grammar books that they have separately. They have, an assignment for which one to do when with those. And they're going through and finishing at the end. They're going to hand you, and this is what I like, having done it with my kid. There's a sheet that says, did you put your name on it? Check. Did you use this many ly adverbs? Check. And they have to pull out, like they have to underline where the ly adverb is. So I don't have to go search. They don't have to.
Check marks.
Yeah, yes, yeah. And what's nice too is in the video, Mr. Pudua told my daughter that when your parents are marking for you, they are doing you a service, so you should do something to pay them back for this. And so, good job, Mr. Pudua. So I like those things. He's funny. He tells jokes. The videos are quite entertaining. They're easy to listen to. Yeah. They're a little longer than other videos, but I also will tell parents they usually have about 24 lessons in a 1-year program, so you don't have to finish a lesson every week. You could finish 2 lessons every 3 weeks and finish it in a year, or just go at the pace that works for your student.
Right.
Okay. If that helps you a little bit about like the overview of structure and style, the other piece is that there are suggested readings to do. So while we're doing short readings and doing that whole comprehension and vocabulary building and telling back and narrating and writing back about them, there's also novels that are suggested. And you can do them or not do them, and some of your excerpts might be from those novels, but they're also just suggested readings. So it can be a full language arts curriculum for your students that need that writing and vocabulary and grammar and reading and reading comprehension and so on. It's not going to do the spelling part. It's not going to teach you phonics, but for our middle school and up, it can be very much a full language arts curriculum. Or some parents will say, I just use it for the writing, and we choose other things to do for our literature and reading comprehension. Okay, so now I'm going to talk to you about, and then I'm going to come back to your question. And this will be a little bit shorter, and I do believe that we have this recorded, but I'm not the techie on this, so we could come back and look at these. But I want you to be able to know how to choose an IEW level. So what I have here is the green boxes, a blue box, and a purple. So the leveling is, A is meant to be for grades 3, 4, 5 approximately. I will always use some, here, why don't we switch to the overhead camera. I'm gonna take the junk out of the way here. I will always suggest that you choose based on the passages and the lengths of them and so on for your students. It doesn't have to be just that. So sometimes grade 3 can be a little bit challenging, I would think, for level A. But grade 3, 4, 5, maybe grade 6. If your student doesn't have a strong start in writing in their 6th grade, level A is totally appropriate. B is meant for middle school, that's these blue boxes, and then C is meant for high school. And again, I used to say, you know, according to them, C is grade 9, 10, 11, 12. But a lot of students who've never done IEW before and they're in 9th grade, they would do the B level. So it's not at all about you've missed something or we're going to fall behind. There's quite a lot of wiggle room. There's 2 years, so A, 3, 4, 5, B, 6, 7, 8-ish, C, high school. But there's 2 years, so there's 1A and 2A for that grade 3, 4, 5. There's 1B, 2B, and 3B for the middle school. And then there's 1C and 2C for the high school. So that's still only 8 courses. There's room for you to do some of the thematic studies, to spread this over a couple of years, to say I wanted to do 1B and 2B for grade 9 and 10, and then 1C and 2C for grade 10, 11, and 12, or whatever you feel is appropriate for your student according to how they're learning. They will go over the same structures and styles with every single course.
So does that mean I could start with 2B if my student had never done this curriculum before?
Start with 1. Just always start with year 1.
Okay.
So as you're choosing them, then you're going to choose year 1 because you haven't done it before, because it's going to build from each of those. And with year 1, you start with those structures and styles, and like with A, we'll spread those 9 dress ups over the whole year, whereas with B, we'll review them maybe in the first 2/3 of the year and then continue on. Whereas our C level, we're going to get right into all of those structures right away, and by 1/3 of the way through the year, you've got all of those structures as pieces and dress ups that we're going to use in our writing, and then we keep practicing with them. So I would always start with whatever level you think is appropriate for your student, year 1. Okay. Now the next piece that I wanted to point out here is that we have basic, and then I brought all the basic ones over, so I'm bringing over these other ones. We have basic plus here, and then we have this one called Premier for us type A moms that are the geeky ones that like to have all the courses. So basic means that you've got the writing course. Basic plus is the writing course plus those fix-it grammar books. And Premier, a little glare there, Premier is the writing course and the fix-it grammar books and the original Teaching Writing with Structure and Style course for moms to learn from. So Teaching Writing with Structure and Style is a course for moms to learn how to teach writing, and from that, Mr. Poudoua says, you can just teach from any book. You can just choose any piece. Yeah. And that's what he created for that reason. And so after he did that, moms and dads said, no, you choose the pieces. We want you to tell us what to do on day 1, and that's how he came up with these courses. But if you want to be an expert teacher at this, or if you want to become certified as an IEW teacher, you could take that, which is kind of neat. Yes. So now you've chosen A, B, or C. You've chosen year 1 if you haven't done this before, or the next year that your students have done. You might also say, like, I'm going to do B year 1 and then go into C year 1 because I have an older student. You don't have to do all of them. Right. So your level, your year, you choose whether you want the grammar or you don't want the grammar, whether you're the type A mom that wants the whole course in kit and caboodle. And so then that's 3 choices. And the 4th choice is, do you want to do this with forever streaming or with DVDs? This package here, and each of them has an option. Most of them have an option to get this with DVDs, and those DVDs will be included in here, but the streaming one is called Forever Streaming. So you don't have to worry, can my next kid use this? It's still going to be available. It's called Forever Streaming. And I'm going to open one up and just show you, and then Kelly, thank you for being patient, and Rebecca, I'm going to address those last couple questions before we go. Okay. Whoops, I'm going to open this one because it's got the DVDs in it. We'll just do this opening prettiness. And this is, IEW makes them look so nice. And I'm going to open the box. we go, throw that on the floor. Inside of here, you're going to find, make sure I don't knock over my water, your box opening prettiness. This is what you should find in here. You're going to get the writing course, and because I chose the plus, did I choose the plus? No, I chose the basic. So I chose the basic one. You're going to get the writing course, so this is the writing course, and in here you'll see, and I'll open it up, there's a spiral bound book there, that's your teacher guide, and there's loose leaf pages, that's all your student work, and the teacher guide has a copy of you know, like a teacher guide often does, where you can see the page and what it looks like. So that's your teacher guide and student book for your writing course, and then here is my sleeve of all the DVD lessons, okay? If I got the plus, there would be my Fix-It Grammar books in there, and actually, I brought these along. This is the Fix-It Grammar course that you would get if you got the B Year 1 Plus. I like it because it's Robin Hood. Okay. In here, Thanks, ladies, for wading through this question that you didn't ask, that a whole bunch of other people asked me this week, because it was relevant. So here is that student notebook, and here's all the loose leaf papers that I'm not going to let fly all over here, and they've got dividers and all that jazz in there. Pockets. So your teacher book shows you, here I'm flipping to week 6. This is what we're going to do this week. Here's the videos for this, and here's what you're going to do each day. And then when it'll say, you know, watch part of the video, optional, complete the Fix-It Grammar for week 6. Let me open up this page and so on. Day 1, 2, 3, and generally they have a 4-day schedule so that you have stuff that can roll over onto the next day because we're all busy people. Nice. Here's your teacher's copy of the excerpt. So this is our B-level excerpt at week 6, so it's towards the beginning. And our students are going to make their keyword outline using this. And then at the end of the week, I don't know that I have it this early in the year. At the end of the week, yes, they've got this list. And they have to give you this list, which is kind of cool. Did I put my name and my date in here? Did I do my ly adverbs? And you get to check, and then put your notes down here and your marks. So it makes it so much easier for us. That's the structure and style. And then Fix-It Grammar is the other piece that would come in with this. And just a quick look at this. I'll show you the student book of this one. Fix-It Grammar, I like this one. I mean, as much as grammar can be fun, this one's kind of fun because in this you're writing out the story of Robin Hood. Every week, or every day, we just write out one sentence. In the olden days of England, King Richard reigned over the land. On the next page here. A legendary outlaw lived in Sherwood Forest in central England. His name was Robin. Robin and the Loyal Men, and so on. We start by reading it. Before that, we've done a learn it. So there's a page that gives us some grammatical lesson, a short grammatical lesson. And then the next 5 days, we go through and we read it and we find the vocabulary and we define it using what we've learned in context or what we look up. We mark articles and nouns or whatever is appropriate. So it says there's 3 articles. I'm going to put AR over them. So I'll put AR over it. And so I'm going to fix it by putting capitals and end marks on, and then I'm going to rewrite it. And the nice thing is at the end, you have this nicely rewritten copy of my best writing of the story of Robin Hood.
Lovely.
And the answers are actually back here. There's the whole story. So it's an exercise, but it's just kind of fun. Keeps it simple, 1 sentence a day. So that's a look at IEW. Thank you for indulging while we answered that question for somebody who might not be in this group, but this is a really common question, right?
It was useful for me.
Yeah. So there's more to be said about IEW. That's certainly not the total of it. But let me get back to a couple of these questions. And if you have any last questions before we go, we would like to answer them. We also are going to do some more Q&As, whether it's Jackie and I or some other guests that I have coming. We're going to be doing some more Q&As in the days to come. So, Kelly Good, she's just endorsed this here for us. My boys are both struggling writers. It's been an excellent program for them, IEW. One is autistic and the other one's ADD and has dysgraphia. So, Had to start getting him to type out the answers from the answer key, not sure how to adapt. Kelly, that might be something that we should chat about one-on-one. Like, I think that we could think through, or we could think through some other options if that's just not working for you. Another question that Rebecca has, my little guy is 9, he's struggled to read. Any tried and true programs?
Yeah.
We've got some favorites.
We do have some favorites for sure. So I think a lot of times when students are struggling to read, they just need a little extra help than what a typical program would give. And so you just need to spend a little bit extra time every day, explicit, systematic, cumulative instruction, and just don't move on until they've got it figured out. So All About Reading would be the one that comes to mind for sure. Logic of English is a good program as well. So it's really important to get those the phonics down solid so that you can move on from that to the next steps of writing and spelling.
Yeah, as educational therapists, a couple of the things that really are ingrained in me is that our struggling learners often are struggling to integrate their senses. So they're having a hard time remembering because their eyes and their ears are not like coordinating. So I spent that time seeing what you had on the page, but it felt like a big jumble and you were saying stuff, but I couldn't match them. So it's like our traditional curriculums might be like an open and go, that it's all here in the book. But for those little guys, they're looking at a book like, you know, it's a page like this. There's just words everywhere, right? and now what am I supposed to do? Like, Mom, I want to please Mom. I'm trying to make her happy, but I can't see all and I can't comprehend all that's going. So using all of our senses. So I hear it, I see it, I say it, I move it with my hands, I touch different textures, and that's why All About Reading works well, because we use little letter tiles. And it was made by a mom who had kids that were struggling. And she said, like, I've got to get these kids reading, but they've got some significant learning difficulties. How do we get them reading? So she made these things so that now you have colorful letter tiles that are separated from all the other things. That's the pieces that we need, and we can move them around. We can look at them, hear them, say their names, say their sounds, and so on. So All About Reading helps with that. But if you're not using All About Reading, something like we're using Explode the Code, so it's a traditional little workbook, then get out those letter tiles or those magnetic letters from your fridge and build the words that you've looked at. Use things that have different textures. Roll it out with Play-Doh. Draw it with chalk on a chalkboard. Make it really big with your arms or make them like really small. So like varying those sensory inputs. So cumulative, meaning little bits in an orderly fashion that build on each other. Explicit, meaning we're being really clear about what we're instructing. So like today, let's just talk about AR words. Like, what sounds do you get when you get AR words? And let's practice that for a whole week until we're ready to move on. Those are the kinds of things that you see in All About Reading, that if All About Reading doesn't help, is like the next thing we do, is like next level is educational therapy. So does that help? Do you have other ideas?
No, I think that's a good start. And it'd be good to know a little more information about what she's tried already. And if he's struggling as a 9-year-old, we want to get him some stuff that will help him to feel successful. Yeah, at that point, you're starting to ask yourself why. This isn't just a matter of not having the right, it's not a matter of just not getting all the day's work done. There's something more systematic that needs to be done at that point. Yeah, and usually for a little guy that's 9 who's still struggling to read, I would say, like, try All About Reading. If not, look at All About Reading and the things that are part of an Orton Gillingham style of learning and incorporate those into the curriculum that you're using. Give us a call for a consultation, and also look into educational therapy. Educational therapy is like, he is just the right age for that as well. A 9-year-old would be fantastic. It could be fantastic. So. Fidget games and other literacy games. He is busy. Yep, nothing like busy little boys. And you're right on with textiles and senses. What is educational therapy? Tell us what educational therapy is. Educational therapy, yeah. So when children have trouble learning reading or math, A lot of times it could be for various different reasons, and so educational therapy is when the student meets with an educational therapist a few hours a week and also does some work at home just to reinforce and strengthen those areas of weakness. So first of all, there's some testing that is done in the beginning, and then there are specific techniques. I like to compare it to physiotherapy. So I go to physiotherapy because I have joints that don't work right, and my physiotherapist doesn't say, well, just use your elbow instead of your knee. My physiotherapist does techniques on my knee to help to strengthen and loosen it, and that's what educational therapy does. So it focuses on those areas of weakness to strengthen them, because these students have other abilities that they're using to try to compensate, but sometimes it's just not enough, and they need to be able to strengthen those weaknesses.
It's not the right thing to always compensate. It's good to compensate, right? Like, because when I've injured my elbow or my this is my shoulder. when I've injured my shoulder, the right thing to do is not to just like try harder, right? Because it makes it worse.
It makes it worse,
so I do have to compensate, but I also have to work on what is it going to do? What do I need to do to strengthen this so that I am not injured anymore? I always I think of physical therapy as well, and I remember how you hold your baby's hands, right? Hold their hands, and they start to talk. Like one of my granddaughters is right at that spot where you hold her hands, and she's like moving along, but she can't do it on her own. But there's going to be a time very soon where she's just going to let go, and she's going to start to sort of toddle and then fall, and then she's going to be a runner, right? But one of my kids at that same age, when I think of her, like I would hold her hands, and she'd just be a limp noodle. Like there was nothing to hold her up, and even if I pushed her feet up underneath of her, and we kind of did that thing where they lean forward and one foot kind of goes forward, she wouldn't. She'd just like kind of flop.
Oh wow.
And so she went to physiotherapy, and they taught us how to like get those legs under her and push her to get them forward. Now you wouldn't know which one of my kids. You know my kids.
No.
You wouldn't know which one of my kids.
Told me the story before.
Except that you know my kids, and you've known this child since then.
Yeah.
That you wouldn't. I mean, the rest of you wouldn't know which one of my kids didn't walk until she was 2.
Yeah.
Because she got that physiotherapy and it helped her. So educational therapy is cognitive therapy. It helps our brains to become confident, independent learners. And it looks a lot like tutoring, but it's not tutoring. It's about helping them with thinking skills and by doing a lot of things like reading and math.
It's a lot more intensive and directed. And the exciting thing is they do become independent. It takes a lot of work, a lot of effort, and some effort on the part of the parents
It's so cool
too.
to see.
But by the end, it's amazing the results.
And because we have, we're newish to educational therapy, but we work with a lot of educational therapists here at the store. They use our materials. We help, prepare them for their trainings and stuff like that. So, like the stories that I hear from educational therapists is phenomenal. Because we want our kids to be confident, independent learners, and we want them to be able to soar. And not to always, I always have to have speech to text because I can't do that. Yes, you can. Right. We can learn these things. We want to see them progress within their abilities. So we've talked about a bunch of things. We've talked about more things in depth and not so many quick answer questions. But we are available. Jackie and I and others on our team are available to have some one-on-one chats with you. We're also going to be doing more live Q&As. I think our next one is on the 11th. I think that's Tuesday. We're going to be doing a Q&A, and I have another guest that's going to come for that, and we're going to just be talking to people who are new to homeschooling. So if you're new to homeschooling, join us. If you know somebody who's new to homeschooling, let them know that we're available and we'd love to chat then, and that we also do consultations. We're happy to chat. We're going to do another one on high school later on, and then we'll just do another general Q&A towards the end of the back to school season when we're all rushing around. But until then, Jackie and I are doing a lot of stuff here. She's doing some tutoring and educational therapy. We're doing consultations, meeting with people one-on-one and in the store, and just running around picking a lot of orders too. So we have a ton of fun here. So thanks for joining us. Thanks for spending the time here. I've seen lots of you come and go, and I really appreciate the ability to just come alongside y'all as you are doing this education thing well. So just want to love on you guys and wish you all the best as you prepare for the next school year. Take care. Bye.